you just know that there's going to be some asswipe in the comment section talking about, well, maybe she shouldn't have been in her house protecting her property and snooping and wondering what those noises were in her backyard. It's bound to happen. Dynamite! Dynamite! What's going on? What's up? Hey, how you doing? My name's Heero. This is the Identity Booth. We have a verdict in the Kim Potter case, which was the ex-officer who killed Daunte Wright. She was sentenced to 2 years in jail with time served, which gives her 16 months. It's crazy to think about, because we gave so much. Like, Daunte Wright got murdered not long after what happened to George Floyd. So it's just like, was there no enhanced awareness by law enforcement to probably, be a little bit more gentle? Because clearly you guys are going to start being held responsible. But it kind of begs the question, is this true accountability? When you are an officer of the law and you have been trained to protect and serve, and you make a mistake, that's not a mistake that we, the people, should have to bear. It's you. You don't get to make mistakes when you have the ability to take someone's life at any given chance. You have to be held to a higher standard. So I think it's crazy that Kim Potter got a shorter sentence in jail than a man who stole a backpack in New York and got sent to Rikers for 3 years. And he would then later be exonerated and then commit suicide. It's like, our justice system is so blind to what is justice. Like, there's no way our justice system is equipped to really disseminate justice properly when it was built on a systemic racist background. Let's get into it, shall we? What to know about the trial of Kim Potter, the ex-officer who killed Daunte Wright. So this was an old school article, but I just wanted you to see, like, this is her. And there's clearly a comparisons that I can draw here, but we want to talk about this in the sense that now the case is over. You can go to a federal extent if you want to, but the family, I think, is going to take it as is, but we'll see what the federal government wants to step in. Because my honest opinion, do I think 2 years, before we even do I think she made a mistake? Yeah. Do I think the mistake was made because of an inherent bias? Yeah. So that kind of negates it being a mistake, because if your biases are altering your training, then that is a subconscious decision you're making. You should have the wherewithal to say, I'm not equipped to do this job. And if you say you're equipped to do the job and you make a mistake because of your inherent bias, then leave. Like, if I knew the person I was doing surgery on was bothering me because he had no N-words allowed on his chest, and I didn't think that I would do the utmost to save his life, I would remove myself from that situation. But if I went into that situation and then nicked his carotid artery when I was supposed to be working in an abdominal, I'm not giving myself a lot of grace here to fight the case, right? And is that the situation I want to be in? Is that how I want to be looked at? I think it's super important that we are pretty clear about the roles here. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things we want to see here. The value of a black life in comparison to what? What do we have to compare it to? We only have to compare it to a white life. We know for a fact that Kim Potter got 5 months, and there's give and take here, because we have a situation where we had the former Minneapolis police officer, Mohammed Noor. He was given 57 months in the killing of a 911 caller. He killed this lady, an Australian woman, Justine Damond, July 15, 2017. He wasn't arrested for another 8 months. Kim Potter was arrested within 5 months of her shooting. So he did get the ticket on this one. But my guy got 57 months. But let me give you a little bit more about this. His sentence was originally 12 and a half years. This sentence was a reduction. So now he's going to be in jail for 4.5 years. But this was a reduction from 12 years after the Supreme Court in Minneapolis found that he didn't kill her with malicious intent. And for all y'all don't know is Justine Diamond, she called the police while sitting in a vehicle in her backyard after seeing what she thought was a man rummaging through people's backyard trash. She called the police, and upon them arriving to the scene, Noor, with his partner standing in front of him, approached the vehicle and attempted to make contact with Justine, but in that approach, her sudden movement caused Noor to fear for his life, and he shot across his partner and shot and killed her. Noor has always maintained that he feared for his life, and he didn't know about the threats in the area. Let's be frank, he was wrong. I don't know why this hasn't taken effect yet, but this should be the standard for all contacts with law enforcement and civilians. Until that law enforcement officer has been fired upon, they cannot discharge their weapon. That should just be a common sense law. That is literally what our soldiers are trained to do. That's literally a UN thing. That's usually a war thing. Like, I don't know why we aren't giving the courtesy that terrorists in other countries are given. It's just crazy to me that officers get to just shoot and then say, I fear for my life. If you fear for your life, why was your first instinct to shoot the person coming at you? Like, call for backup. You had a partner there. You had a partner in front of you there. And then he's like, oh, I shot him. But, like, he got 57 months. That's a reduction for him. But, you know, maybe I'm being biased. But this shit literally happened today. 2 JP deputies arrested. In fact, let them tell the story. Unmute.
The sheriff arrests 2 of his own deputies for shooting this man in Marine.
Eyewitness News begins with breaking news.
Big news tonight in Jefferson Parish. The sheriff arrests 2 of his own deputies for shooting this man in Marrero.
Well, that man's family and civil rights attorneys raised questions about the shooting. Tonight, the sheriff says that while the deputies believe that their life was in danger, he couldn't stand behind their actions.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel was at that news conference tonight. And Mike, this is a lot of new information that you're bringing to us.
Yeah, it all came at once, and we got here pretty quickly when the sheriff called this news conference. Of course, the big takeaway from this is 2 Jefferson Parish deputies have now been arrested in the shooting death of Daniel Valley, which happened last week in Marrero. 29-year-old Isaac Hughes and 35-year-old Johnathan Lewis turned themselves in to police today and were being booked on those charges within the last hour. This all happened early last Wednesday morning when Sheriff Joe Lopinto says deputies were called to a known drug house in the 500 block of Wilson Street for a noise complaint. When they got there, deputies found 34-year-old Daniel Valley inside an SUV. Lopinto says officers tried for more than 12 minutes to get Valley to get out and comply, but he wouldn't. Lopinto says officers were even begging him at one point to get out, and then at one point, Lopinto says Valley started the engine and even raised his hands. It's when he put his hands down that Valley apparently hit the horn on the SUV. And at that point, Lopinto says the reaction was one of the deputies opening fire, followed by the second deputy, both of them firing multiple times. Surveillance video obtained by Eyewitness News shows the moment those shots were fired, busting the windows out of Valley's white SUV. Lopinto says while not armed except for with that SUV, Valley unfortunately put his deputies in a highly stressful situation, and while the use of force would have been warranted, deadly force was not.
There perception was that their life was in danger at that point in time. Unfortunately, the use of force in this situation was not justified. As much as I would love to be able to defend them, I don't believe there was any criminal intent at this point in time.
The same, and I share this story not out of just coincidence. That's literally what happened with Dante Wright. And in Kim Porter's situation, a lot of people empathize with her. She had to do what she had to do. He started a car and honked the horn. But let's dig deeper,
the sheriff
right?
says Valley was also wanted for questioning out of Plaquemines Parish for the theft of some four-wheelers and was also a person of interest in a drug overdose case out of Gretna. And at this point, the sheriff says toxicology did show some type of drug in Valley's system, but of course that full report has not been released. Ladies.
All right, Mike, I know that the body camera video is a question that a lot of us had. They wanted to see if that video was going to be released. Did that body camera video from deputies play a role in these arrests?
Yeah, so essentially it did. So JPSO just recently started wearing those body cameras, and the sheriff says the video seen on those cameras actually backs up the statement from these officers, because all of the officers have given statements on this, all of the responding officers out there, not just the two arrested, and it really backs up what they were saying. And the sheriff says that these officers have been very cooperative. Of course, now that this is a criminal investigation, the video from those cameras will not be released right away. Ladies.
All right, Mike, that's a big question.
In 2020, the all-female crew of Knicks was among the
situation that's interesting about this is, let's take a look at the images of the officers who were arrested. These are the officers who got arrested. And we saw the victim, who was this guy. But these are the... So, like... and that's why whenever I see a black person in uniform, I just think to myself, you one mistake away from going to jail. Like, why would you put yourself in closer proximity to being sent to jail? I couldn't justify it. I couldn't justify them using deadly force. Kim Potter, the car was on and moving, and she shot at him, and people empathized with her. What do you mean? Like, he's a known drug offender. He's a person of interest. He was asked to step out of the vehicle. And then he turned the vehicle on. And he had drugs in his system. All he had to do was drive down the street and run over some poor somebody. That's a life. Like, if you couldn't get him to get out of the car then, what would have been justifiable force? I'm being facetious, obviously. They could have broken the window and dragged his punk ass out. They could have spiked his tires and drug his punk ass out. But my whole point here is the training doesn't justify. They're not equipped. These are not people who are equipped to handle civilians. They're just not. They're just not. Right? Because we have stories to back up other claims. Fort Worth, Texas, Tatiana Jefferson, murdered in her own house by an officer who snuck around the house and went to the backyard instead of entering the open, well-lit front door, and then shot into a mirror within seconds of entering her property for a wellness check. How you go somewhere to check on somebody and end up killing somebody? Don't call the police for nothing. Don't call the police for nothing. And the thing with this is, this happened all the way back in 2019. They're still pushing this case back. They're still pushing this case back. And it's baffling to me that this is something we have to do. How is this not an open shut case? There's a part of me that's kind of happy it's going to take place in this new amplified situation in places where, you know, Amber Geiger got sent to jail, Kim Potter's getting sent to jail, Chauvin's getting sent there. These two dumbasses getting sent to jail now because they want to be officers so bad. How you grow up being harassed and think, oh, I'm going to change the system from within, and just fall victim to the same employees. You don't get the same privileges your teammates do, man. That's the reason why Tom Brady gets all these tuck rules and, you know, Cam Newton got obliterated. No decision for the start of court case for Tatiana. Like, this is baffling to me. Let's see if we can get an insight into this. Wait, where's my volume?
For her accused killer will change. Tatiana Jefferson's family will have to wait a little longer to learn if the trial date for her accused killer will change. Former Fort Worth officer Aaron Dean is charged with shooting and killing Tatiana in her mother's home more than 2 years ago. Scoop Jefferson tells us what the judge decided in court today about holding trial sooner than later.
The judge heard arguments from both prosecutors and Aaron Dean's defense attorneys about holding the trial in March instead of May. Former Fort Worth police officer Aaron Dean attended the hearing virtually due to an undisclosed medical condition. Dean is charged with the 2019 murder of Tatiana Jefferson, shot and killed during a welfare check called in by one of her neighbors who noticed her front door left open. Tatiana's sisters attended the hearing as well, but like everyone else, they are under a court-issued gag order not to talk about the case. During the hearing, the judge told both sides he will take under advisement the prosecutor's motion to move up the trial. Dean's defense attorneys are against that, saying 2 of their key witnesses will not be available in March. No word yet on when the judge will make a final decision in this motion. In Fort Worth, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
I think a lot of people right now are wondering what is the exact time.
What witness? It's crazy. So I just wanted to draw a few of those comparisons today. Like, that's it. Like, nothing major. No ruffling of feathers. The systemic issue's apparent. But like, I just know that there's a lot of people that will say, well, this is not, but I've shown you 3 examples now of certain officers getting certain leniencies when it comes to this justice system, and certain people of certain colors and demographics not getting that same leniency. So you can argue with your mama, because I got hands. And for all it's worth, I appreciate y'all listening to this. Give me your honest opinion. And there is a right answer here, so it's not really an opinion. No, I'm just playing. I'm being very facetious because, like, you just know that there's going to be some asswipe in the comment section talking about, well, maybe she shouldn't have been in her house protecting her property and snooping and wondering what those noises were in her backyard. It's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. But let me know what you guys think.